Okay, so this is my video on the demonstration for blood pressure for KIN 382. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody in my house right now that I can use as a demonstration, so I'll just have to do the best I can with just myself. So as I'd walk into the room with the client, I would then ask them how they were doing, have some very easy icebreaker questions to start. And then I would get right into my blood pressure pre-test screening. So I'd ask them if they had been sitting quietly for 5 minutes. If they hadn't, I'd have them sit quietly for 5 minutes without talking or anything. If they had, I guess before that, I would ask them if they had any caffeine, if they'd had any exercise in the last 6 hours. If the answer to that are no, then we're good. So then I would have them sit quietly in a chair for 5 minutes, and I would sit them quietly, legs not crossed, feet on the floor if we can, or if they're on a stool, like up on the little foot rest. And then the first thing I would do is I would take their heart rate. So I would find a radial pulse, as I'm kind of demonstrating here on my own hand. I would hold it for a count. I would make sure that they're holding their hand on the table, their palm up and the elbow on the table, and I would find their pulse. And I'll give a good 10 count. And then I do that, and then I would multiply that by 6, and that would be my heart rate. So I got about 10 beats in 10 seconds, so I multiply that 6, so 60 beats per minute. Then I would move into the blood pressure taking stage. So again, what I would have them do, if they are wearing a short sleeve shirt, then we're all good. If they're wearing a light hoodie or a light long sleeve shirt, a thin long sleeve shirt, that's okay. I would just ask them to roll it up to just past the elbow, so that way I can still get my stethoscope onto the skin and I can still wrap the cuff around their arm. And again, this would be done on the left arm. And if they had a hoodie or something on, I would then maybe ask them if they were comfortable to take it off, or we would maybe have them change into a smaller shirt t-shirt that we could provide for them. So what I would do, I'm going to wrap the cuff around the left arm, and then I will place the stethoscope. See if I can do this. Place the stethoscope around right here. So that's where we'll place the stethoscope. And then I will begin to pump up the cuff, and as I'm feeling for pulse, and I will pump to get a estimated systole pressure. So I will pump up the cuff until I can no longer feel their pulse. And once I can no longer feel their pulse, I will pump it 20 millimeters of mercury past that point. And then once that is done, I will place my stethoscope on the distal portion of their internal elbow, and I will then begin to listen as I release air from the valve and start listening. The first part I hear sound, the systole, that's when the blood is being pumped out of the heart. The first time I start hearing sound, I look at the dial, and that would be my first measurement, and then I will continue to release air at about 2 millimeters of mercury per second. I will continue to release air until there's no more sound. Once I stop hearing sound, that is my diastole. That is when the heart is in relaxation and the ventricles are filling with blood. And then, so let's say I took someone's measurement and they were 135 over 92. Let's say that's what they were. I would maybe, because that is a little bit higher for blood pressure, so that's in that hypertension stage. What I may end up doing is I may end up, even though it's below our lab cutoffs of 140 over 100, I may ask them if they were a little anxious. We may retake the test. They're still okay to participate. But if I retake the test again, let's say if I get 128 over 72, they're good to go. They pass the lab cutoffs and they can walk out.